You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. So he's speaking to a rich man. And he says, you give but little when you give of your possessions. So this first part here you can think of as our attitude towards our possessions. So the first thing he says, what are your possessions? He says they are things that you keep for fear that you may need them tomorrow. So we acquire possessions out of fear. So what he's talking about in this section is our wrong relationship with our possessions. And you can think of it, broadly speaking, as deficit mindset. What will happen to me? What if I don't have enough? What's important to understand is that if we're coming from that mindset, we're not asking the question, what if I don't have enough? We are already occupying the lived experience of not having enough. When you are fearful, when you are anxious, what if I don't have enough? You are living what it would be like to not have enough. What is fear of need? Need itself. I don't need any more possession. That's the way it actually is in reality. But if I have a fear of needing possessions, then I have put myself into the state of need, even though it's false. Deficit mindset. Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? So if you have a well that is full but you're afraid of thirst in the future, then no amount of water will help you. If we are coming from deficit mindset, no amount of material possessions can fill it. No bank balance, no number of homes, no number of cars can assuage the deficit mindset. The thirst when your well is full is the thirst that is unquenchable. More properly, it's unquenchable by material acquisition. No amount of material acquisition will quench the fear of thirst. But that doesn't mean it's unquenchable. The dread of thirst is quenchable by treating it with knowledge and devotion. Look to understand the deeper insights about life. And he actually goes into those in the next section. And having gratitude for what you do enjoy. The knowledge from positive psychology is clear around this. An appropriate gratitude practice offsets negative emotional states. So the dread of thirst is quenchable, but just not by water. So we need to reorient our relationship with our possessions. What am I acquiring and why? Am I like the overprudent dog burying bones in the trackless sand as I follow the pilgrims to the holy city? Such an interesting idea here. Trackless sand. So he buries the bones and he can't find them again because there's no tracks to follow, no scent to follow. But he's overprudent. Rather than enjoying the bones now, rather than doing something useful with them, he puts them in a place where they're not going to be of any use. So it is with our possessions. We continue to acquire and never make use of them because we are consistently living in this deficit mindset. So offsetting this negative relationship with our possessions is what he talks about as he continues through the poem. He also talks about it right from the outset. He says, you give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. So what does it mean to give of yourself? What's he talking about there? When you give of your possessions, you don't have that possession anymore. When you give of yourself, what are you giving away? We'll put it another way. When you give of a possession, you're sacrificing that possession so that someone else can have it. I have 2 pens, I'm going to sacrifice one so that you can have it. When you give of yourself, what is being sacrificed? You're giving up your ego. And so when we talk about giving up your ego, that's much tougher than giving up your possessions. Think about being in an argument with somebody, and they give you some pretty good logic and some pretty good explanations of where you went wrong, and you suddenly realize, oh, I think they're right. It's not easy to say, oh yes, you're right and I was wrong. It's a very difficult thing to do, because you're giving up the ego's position of I know, I'm right, I'm competent. You give but little when you give of your possessions. Bhagavad Gita talks about this from the perspective of grades of giving. Giving your possessions, fairly easy. Giving your time. Someone wants to be picked up from the airport. It's not just the time you're giving up, it's the sense of being in control of your own time. You can give that up. So your physical labor, if you like. Higher than that is giving your emotions and your knowledge. It's sharing and giving that. Higher than that is to give self-knowledge. And it is the giving of self-knowledge that is the highest grade of giving. It is also the most difficult, because it is the abandonment or the giving up of the ego. It's giving up your identity, who and what you believe yourself to be. We don't sacrifice because we feel we have to. Sacrifice is just built into the process of giving. You are spending on somebody else your possessions, your time, your labor, your emotions, your attention that you could be spending on yourself. That's the sacrifice.